The Brooklyn Nets. Remember them? They play basketball. Or at least they try to. This season has been a roller coaster for the team, filled with highs and lows, but mostly lows. The kind of lows that make you question if they even remember how to play the game. It's been a tough season to say the least. The other night they lost to the Clippers. By a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean it was a blowout of epic proportions. The kind of loss that makes you want to turn off the TV and pretend it never happened. But it did happen. And it was brutal. The final score was so lopsided it was almost comical. The Clippers were celebrating like they had just won the championship, while the Nets were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered pride. It was a night to forget for Brooklyn fans. Like, a lot. A lot. We're talking 59 points, people. 59. That's not just a loss. That's a complete and utter annihilation. It's the kind of score that makes you do a double take and wonder if there was a typo on the scoreboard. We're talking 59 points, people. 59. That's not a basketball score, that's a golf score. And not a good one either. It's the kind of score that makes you question if the Nets were even trying. Were they playing basketball or just going through the motions? That's not a basketball score, that's a golf score. A bad one. I'm not sure what's more embarrassing, the loss itself or the fact that the Nets seemed surprised they were losing. It was like they walked onto the court expecting to win by default. Newsflash fellas, this ain't the YMCA. A bad one. I'm not sure what's more embarrassing, the loss itself, or the fact that the Nets seemed surprised they were losing. It was like they walked onto the court expecting to win by default. Newsflash fellas, this ain't the YMCA. You gotta show up and play. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about the Nets injury report. It was like they walked onto the court expecting to win by default. Newsflash fellas, this ain't the YMCA. You gotta show up and play. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about the Nets injury report. Newsflash fellas, this ain't the YMCA. You gotta show up and play. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about the Nets injury report, because it's longer than my list of grievances with the NBA officiating this season, which is saying something, you gotta show up and play. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about the Nets injury report, because it's longer than my list of grievances with the NBA officiating this season, which is saying something. The injury list reads like a who's who of the Brooklyn Nets roster. It's almost as if the team is cursed this season. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about the Nets injury report, because it's longer than my list of grievances with the NBA officiating this season, which is saying something. The injury list reads like a who's who of the Brooklyn Nets roster. It's almost as if the team is cursed this season. Every time you think they're getting healthy, another player goes down. It's been a revolving door of injuries, and it's taken a toll on the team's performance, because it's longer than my list of grievances with the NBA officiating this season, which is saying something. The injury list reads like a who's who of the Brooklyn Nets roster. It's almost as if the team is cursed this season. Every time you think they're getting healthy, another player goes down. It's been a revolving door of injuries, and it's taken a toll on the team's performance. But injuries are part of the game, and the Nets need to find a way to overcome them if they want to salvage this season. It's going to take a lot of heart, determination, and maybe a little bit of luck. But if there's one thing we've learned about the Brooklyn Nets, it's that they never give up. So here's hoping they can turn things around and give their fans something to cheer about. Don't bet on it. So, the Nets are playing the Lakers again. Yeah, you heard that right, a rematch. Because apparently, watching the Nets get demolished once wasn't enough for the basketball gods. They decided to bless us with a sequel. Now, I'm not saying the Nets are gonna lose again, but I'm also not saying they're gonna win. I'm just saying if you're a betting man, or woman, you might want to put your money on something else, like, I don't know, the lottery. At least there, you have a chance. The Nets injury report reads like a who's who of guys I've never heard of. Don't get me wrong, I love me some NBA basketball, but even I have my limits. We've got Bojan Bogdanovic, Cam Thomas, DeAnthony Melton, Maxwell Lewis, and Trendon Watford all out. And that's just the Nets. The Lakers are missing a few key players themselves. It's like they're having a contest to see who can field the most injured team. Spoiler alert, it's the Nets. Always the Nets. Section 4, the Nets record. It's not pretty, folks. The Nets are currently 14-27 at the halfway point of the season. Let that sink in for a minute. 14 wins, 27 losses. That's not a winning record. That's not even a respectable losing record. That's a we should probably just forfeit the rest of our games and go home record. And you know what the saddest part is? They're not even trying to win, they're actively trying to lose. It's called tanking, folks. And the Nets are doing it better than anyone else in the league. Section 5, tank you, come again, the art of strategic losing. Now, some people might say that tanking is bad for the league. They argue that it undermines the competitive spirit of the sport and disrespects the integrity of the game, that it's unfair to the fans. Fans who pay good money to watch their favorite teams play, only to see them intentionally lose. They feel cheated, and rightfully so. After all, they invest their time, emotions, and hard-earned cash into supporting their teams, that it's a disgrace to the game of basketball. A game that has been built on the principles of hard work, dedication, and fair competition. When teams tank, it feels like a betrayal of these core values. And to those people I say, lighten up. Sometimes there's a bigger picture at play. It's not just about the immediate game or season. It's about building a future, a dynasty even. It's all part of the game. Every team goes through cycles of winning and losing. It's a natural part of sports. And sometimes, losing strategically can set the stage for future success. Look, I get it. Losing sucks. No one likes to lose. It's demoralizing for the players, frustrating for the coaches, and heartbreaking for the fans. But in the grand scheme of things, a few losses now can lead to many more wins in the future. But sometimes, you gotta lose to win. Think of it as a long-term investment. You endure short-term pain for long-term gain. It's a strategy that has been employed by many successful teams over the years. It's like that old saying goes, you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. In the context of sports, those eggs are the losses that pave the way for future victories. Or in the Nets' case, you gotta lose a few dozen games to get a top draft pick. It's a calculated risk, but one that can pay off big time. So, next time you see your team tanking, remember it's all part of the master plan. Section 6. Vinsanity Forever, a tribute to Air Carter. In all seriousness, folks, let's take a moment to appreciate one of the greatest to ever do it, Vince Carter. The man was a walking highlight reel, a true spectacle on the court. He could dunk, he could shoot, he could fly. He was unstoppable. Vince Carter was more than just a basketball player. He was a phenomenon. He was an icon, a legend, a true inspiration. And tonight we salute him, honoring his incredible career. Now, if only the current Nets team could learn a thing or two from Vinsanity. Section 7. Delo's back in town cue, the awkward reunions. This is the moment we've all been waiting for, the return of D'Angelo Russell to the City of Angels. It's a story that has all the elements of a Hollywood script. Drama, excitement, and a touch of nostalgia. And last but not least, we gotta talk about D'Angelo Russell's return to Los Angeles. The city that never sleeps, the city of stars, and now, the city welcoming back one of its own. D'Angelo's journey has been nothing short of a roller coaster, filled with highs and lows, triumphs and setbacks. You know, the city where he played for the Lakers, for a hot minute. It feels like just yesterday when he was drafted as the second overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft. The young prodigy with a world of potential, ready to take on the league and make his mark, before they shipped him off to Brooklyn. A move that shocked many and left fans wondering what could have been. In Brooklyn, D'Angelo found a new home, a new team, and a new set of challenges. He grew as a player, matured as a person, and showed the world what he was truly capable of. I'm sure it'll be a warm and fuzzy reunion. Teammates who once shared the court with him, fans who cheered for him, and the city that embraced him will all be there to welcome him back. It's a moment filled with emotions, memories, and a sense of coming full circle. Full of hugs and kisses and maybe even a few tears. The kind of reunion that tugs at your heartstrings and makes you believe in second chances. It's not just about basketball, it's about the connections, the relationships, and the bonds that go beyond the game. Or maybe it'll be super awkward, like really awkward. You know, the kind of awkward where you don't know whether to go for a handshake, a hug, or just a nod. The kind of awkward that makes you laugh and cringe at the same time, like, I can't believe I used to play for this team. Awkward. The kind of awkward that makes you question your past decisions and wonder what could have been. It's a mix of nostalgia and regret, excitement and uncertainty. Either way, it's going to be entertaining. Whether it's heartwarming or awkward, it's a moment that will be talked about, remembered, and cherished. It's the kind of moment that makes sports so special, so unpredictable, and so captivating. And hey, at least it'll take our minds off the Nets' dismal record for a few minutes. In the end, it's all about the love of the game, the passion of the fans, and the stories that unfold on and off the court. Welcome back, D'Angelo. The City of Angels awaits.